I was about to go live and then I had to move my car because I was parked somewhere where there wasn't really good reception. So what's going on with you guys? I wanted to go live, one, because I don't have the monthlies yet, and two, just because I know there's a lot going on, and I wanted to not just give you the downloads I have about kind of what's going on, but also was curious to see how you guys were feeling, what you guys were thinking, just what you guys were downloading with everything that's going on. So this isn't a spread. I made it really clear in the title surrounding what my personal downloads are. But when I do park, I want to actually hear what you guys have been downloading, because from what I can see, a lot of people, even from the personal readings and stuff that I was doing over the past year, a lot of people saw this somehow, some way. And I'm curious to know how you might have felt like you felt this energy coming, or how it might have come to you, how you're feeling now, and whatnot. Oh, nice. I know where I can go. What's going on with you guys? Hey. Yeah, I'm just going live. This isn't a spread, guys, like you guys saw. Oh, this says I cannot. Specifically says do not park here. Yeah, guys, sorry. I was ready to do the live, and then where I was parked, the reception wasn't good, so I have to move. So just give me 2 seconds. How are you guys? Yeah, clearly by the title of the video, my downloads are a little bit. But I've been doing research over the past, I don't know. I mean, I've done the research throughout years, but like as of recently, I've been really drawn to research slave psychology, but prior to Willie Lynch, right? Hey guys. So the Anglo-Saxons, which obviously is the foundation of the Willie Lynch psychology, slave psychology, right? And then as far back as even there's like, because if you guys go online, you guys can research the manifests, i.e. like what the legal process was, what slave trade looked like, how it's evolved. So it's a lot. I'll be honest. I don't know how it's going to come out. I know you guys are accustomed to me being articulate in a certain way, but it's a lot of information. It's past life stuff. It's a lot. So with regards to Willie Lynch, okay, where do I even begin? So I was researching the Willie Lynch letter, but I wanted to study it from a psychological mindset. Right? So taking out race, because ironically enough, if you actually read the psychological tone that Willie Lynch takes in that letter was actually programming the slave owners who were reading it to follow the same psychology that they were indoctrinated to break their slaves with. Because if you read it, that's exactly how the tone, because Willie Lynch is it, because he said fear will always be more powerful than trust. He used fear, and there was another part of the psychology. Either way, I can pull up the other phone and pull up the letter. We could even break it down. That's why I wanted to do like an actual downloads of a light worker surrounding this, because I've got books, I've got notes, and I was really trying to hone in on the evolution of slavery to see how this dark entity has evolutionized within us to oppress us. So the Willie Lynch psychology really is to divide and conquer, right? So if you break down the family, because Willie Lynch compares breaking in a human to breaking in a horse, okay, which was really, the shit's tough, right? Because if you allow yourself to be emotionally available to the psychology, it gets you to see how you've lived this out, either been the oppressor or the oppressed, okay? Because essentially, what's ironic here is where Willie Lynch, because people swear that slavery only affected Black people, which is ridiculous if you really think about it. How could you have an atrocity on one race, I don't care what the race is, and it not affect the rest of mankind? Okay, we need to see past color. That was part of the psychology. Put the light against the dark, the young against the old, the man against the woman. You understand? Yo, the psychology is so deep. And if you look at it, I don't care what race you look at, they live that psychology out, right? So then we're talking about intercultural segregation and racism, which gets us to divide and conquer ourselves so the powers that be can conquer us. Because like I said, if you read the letter, the same psychology and tactics that he's teaching and indoctrinating in the slave owner is what he's using over the slave owner. So again, this psychology, okay, created the matrix, which got the matrix to support the 2%. The 2% were the ones even controlling massa. You understand? That's Willie Lynch. Now, Willie Lynch, okay, is an archaic demon who has been reincarnating and is directly linked to the bloodline that killed Christ. Now, what you're looking at around you is the resurrection of Christ through the consciousness of every single one of us, okay? Just as Jesus was the epitome of what your light energy can impact and do in society, Willie Lynch was the opposite energy, showing us how powerful fear and the devil and greed and lust and all of this is, which got us to oppress. And I want to be really clear about something. This has nothing to do with race, Because the fact of the matter is there are a lot of forgotten slave owners that are reincarnated as Black people. Okay, I'm not playing these games. I'm biracial. I can see I've experienced racism on both sides of the fence. Okay, I see past the psychology, trust and believe that, and you guys know too, right? Okay, so it's past race. Anybody you can see the behavior, right? So somebody who's losing control, doesn't know how to psychologically or emotionally control their child, is going to beat them into submission. That was the Willie Lynch. That's letting the inner slave owner in you live, okay? Bomb. For a small group of you, my UK heads, shout out to my UK heads, the documentary of Britain's Forgotten Slave Owners. That was one of the most fucked up documentaries, mind you. Of course, they shut that down. It was 2 episodes. They shut that down. Shout out to you guys that were protesting that shit 5 years ago out in the UK when they shut that fucking documentary down. Because what it was really doing was putting us all on game, showing us the libraries that are actually still there. So all of this information is there, okay, with regards to, because now I want to talk about how that Willie Lynch psychology is now linked to the economy, which is what you're watching crash, okay? Because a lot of the businesses that you're seeing get lit up and destroyed are linked to the bloodline that killed Christ, are linked to the slave trade, and are linked to Willie Lynch's bloodline, which is getting collected on right now, okay? Now, when slavery was abolished, the government had to pay out. Now, if you look at the Holocaust and retributions and how that played out in history, Jewish people were essentially compensated for the Holocaust, not just emotionally recognized, financially recognized as well, which they then took that money and embedded in infrastructures. So they own a lot of things like you see media, things like, what else? Diamond industry, I'm not... Work with me here, okay? You guys know what I'm talking about. They took those retributions and invested it, okay? Now, Black people haven't been compensated for slavery, right? What happened was, where that money went was actually slave owners, white people were paid, okay, to abolish slavery, i.e. relinquish their slaves. That monies that these slave owners took, there are manifests that have every slave linked and the last name linked to the slave owner, which then means, because this is what this whole documentary was about, they were trying to get retributions, right? So suing the British, American governments to get the money back, right? Listen to me, you guys I'm pro-human, don't crack to me. If you're not liking what I'm saying, you need to get the fuck off of it, okay? I'm talking about a psychology that is embedded in every single fucking culture I've seen, okay? Because the racist shit that Willie Lynch taught us, we do with each other in our own communities, judging each other, whether we're white, lighter or darker, features, status, how much money, where you live, all this kind of shit. It's embedded into the community. Anyways, now retributions, right? White people were compensated, so essentially they had to pay to allow for slavery to be abolished. That money is in the infrastructures you see today, right? So every dollar that was a slave owner was compensated for was put into banks to create bank institutions, to create libraries, to create institutions. Universities, a lot of the universities that Black people can't get into, ironically enough, were funded and are founded off of slave trade money through the what I'm saying is this Willie Lynch psychology is heavily linked to the economy you see crashing down right now. Okay, so I was downloading this shit for the past 2 days. I was online fucking getting lost in some Anglo-Saxon Cairo. Like, you can see the manifest of what the slave trade looked like in Cairo days. Okay, because there was a slave, Willie Lynch didn't invent slavery. Actually, now that I'm hearing, yes, he did, because Willie Lynch has been reincarnating and becoming more advanced. Okay, it's an archaic demon. Think of Jesus, but on the opposite end, right? How Jesus has reincarnated through all of us, right? Willie Lynch has also been reincarnating through people who are perpetuating this psychology, okay, that gets us to hate each other and segregate. Meanwhile, the powers that be are like, great, segregate each other, separate, divide each other so we can better conquer you, right? And it got us to be insecure because feminines, yo, that psychology was so deep, right? Because the Willie Lynch psychology was really focused on the female and the child and breaking in the feminine so that she would then break in the children, and the psychology would then be passed through the generations. And one of the biggest things that was broken in the female was her willpower. Feminines, this is that feeling in you of not being able to back up I can't or knows or I want to. It's that drive. Yo, the psychology is so deep, and it's really just crashing and burning. And I personally think this is a great thing. It's revolutionary. Now I'm going to hear what you guys, a part of me doesn't even want to know what you guys are saying, because I'm just being open with what I've been drawn to research with regards to psychologically how we are evolving and changing, and then getting all these fucked up downloads about like us of like pretty much essentially the karma for what the Willie Lynch's bloodline did to Christ. It's happening right now, and the resurrection simultaneously of Christ is happening right now through all of us and our consciousness, our love of one another, and not giving a fuck, not wanting to be slaves anymore, freedom being the most important thing than anything, that being what makes somebody wealthy, is them being free, you know? Okay, now I'm gonna read what you guys are saying. A part of me is like afraid, because I'm just like, because I try to avoid things like politics and these kind of things, but I'm not lying. Like, I don't have the monthlies done. I've been downloading this shit. I've been up till 4 a.m. researching, because I was preparing to do that downloads of a light worker for the whole, like, this whole slave psychology, right? But I'm not there yet to be able to formulate it in the way like that downloads of a light worker. Like I told you, that letter that I read to you guys, I did that like 1.5 years prior to sharing it with you guys. Like, some things I want to be able to say it in a way that I can reflect and feel like, yeah, that is how, but it's just, I'm still in the researching phase. So that's why a part of me just wanted to come live and see what you guys are downloading, and fucking, because you guys are doing like serious inner child healing and Akashic records and looking at your ancestry. You guys are looking at your bloodline, meaning you're looking at your mother, you're looking at your kids, you're looking at yourself, and you're going, what the fuck? And what I'm saying is, try to identify this psychology and how it lives out, because we individually need to systematically break it down. So within, so without. Right? So breaking down, because it's not just, our ancestors did a lot of the work to reclaim, like slavery took the mind, body, and the soul, right? So our ancestors did a lot to reclaim the body, which is why we can be as free as we are right now, physically, right? From the Willie Lynch era. But now our duty, as what we do for the bloodline, is reclaiming the freedom of the mind and the soul. So we can be spiritual. Yo, the Willie Lynch psychology is so deep that it was talking about how you break out a horse so that it refuses its own natural environment, i.e. it doesn't want to be wild anymore. Okay, it wants massa, it wants slavery, it wants that, right? That's essentially, so when you hear people talk about, I don't like water, I don't eat vegetables, I don't like to be outside, I don't like nature, it's not just like, that is part of the psychology too. That's how deep this shit goes. It got us to reject our own natural environment. not want nature, not want fucking fresh air, not want water. I don't drink water. That shit is the most demonic shit I've ever heard. Who doesn't drink water? The fuck? I don't eat vegetables. Well, no shit. No, let me stop. Mother Mary was a replica of Black Madonna. Exactly. No ads for veggies. We in church. No ads. Thank you guys for just receiving me. Stockholm Syndrome. You already know, blood. Our children. Yo, the Stockholm Syndrome. Yo, it's so deep. The psychology is so deep that some of people, like, if yo, some of the ways certain people get sexually aroused is a direct link because of, you have to imagine, okay? I don't even want to go there. It is so fucking deep. That Stockholm, you were right on for that, buddy. Yeah, you guys are already downloading this shit. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I love you guys. I love you guys. I don't feel alone. I don't feel alone. I mean, mind you, the folks on the Patreon, shout out the Patreon, like I be like, you know, fucking crying to them about crazy shit. They're downloading crazy shit, but I knew the general collective had been downloading this shit because it's a psychology that you guys live out. I don't care if you're black. Yo, you see this in your cultures. You see this in your cultures. Shit, guys. My shit's gonna get spotty because I used all my data. Shout out to first world problems. Yeah, we're still in the matrix. I'm like, shit. Let's talk. Google it. Don't go there. Don't come here, Lauren. You get it? If you're talking to me, you could be talking to somebody in the comments, but don't come to my shit and tell me don't go there. That's slave psychology. Perfect fucking example. Don't do the sex. Lauren, take your ass off. Like, you're the problem. Okay? And you're the problem. You perpetuate, get off. Don't do that. That's like walking into somebody's house and telling them to be quiet. Take your fucking ass on. 1111. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you. How can we make the world better? We make being free the biggest priority. Because if you guys swore that being happy was the easiest priority, and then massa can make you happy. Okay, that's what they did. That's what the psychology did, was to break us in like a horse, where the horse is looking at it like, where's my hay and where's this and are you gonna brush me today? Like the horse doesn't want to be free anymore, doesn't want to be wild. Meanwhile, that's exactly what God created the horse to come down on earth to be. Honestly, I don't know a book. I just research it. Go online. Let your natural desire to want to know lead you to information. You know? It starts with you and breaking the generational curse. That's all I'm trying to say. Do the light work, right? Oh, South Africa loves you. That is okay, Brian. Okay, so I channeled messages from Africa. I was bawling. It was 4 a.m. I was high as fuck. I couldn't go to sleep, and I was channeling all this Willie Lynch shit. But then Mother Africa, because a part of me was like, how the fuck did, like, I want to go home, you know? And I literally heard, like, Mama Africa was telling us, like, I forgive you and I love you. Come home. Like, Africa will heal us again. Now, Africa, we're going to come out of white and black, right? Because essentially what black is African. We need to identify to the African in us, because all of our mitochondrial DNA, science has already proven over 20 years ago that all of our mitochondrial DNA can be linked to Africa. Yet we act like we're not one and the same, right? So this is seeing, yo, I was channeling it because I'm biracial. Yo, my fellow white brothers and sisters, you have to go into your Akashic records and fucking mourn what your ancestors did, yo. You're uncomfortable with certain races and people and you don't understand why. It's because your fucking ancestors. Transmute that, yo. Go to God and say, please, on behalf of my bloodline, please, I seek forgiveness. Please, I apologize on behalf of my, right? So it's this consciousness. because a lot of people don't realize why they're like that, why they're bigots, why they're racist, why they feel uncomfortable around certain people. Because enough people aren't racist, they're just uncomfortable. They don't realize they were programmed to be that way in order, because if we were all one, how powerful would we be? Forget even, you guys still want to segregate culturally? Fine. What about the racism in your own cultures, yo? Straight up. You guys took the Willie Lynch psychology. You see it in Asian cultures, talking about they're more this and they're darker over there and they're this. Black community been doing this. You understand? In our own, it's intercultural segregation and racism. Okay, it's a psychology, you get me? We do it in our own families. Who's more wealthier? Who has more prestige? Who has the bigger house? They deserve to be treated better. Like, it's all this. So being able to identify to how this psychology impacted you instead of pretending it didn't. White, black, Chinese, Indian. How the fuck do you think a war on humanity could occur and it only affected one race and didn't affect you? This is why we're dead inside. You understand? Well, it's not me. I'm not in Syria. I'm not African. I'm not, what the fuck? You're human though, right? No, but Willie Lynch told you you're not human. You're a fucking horse. As he was breaking us in, literally breaking us in like horse. He compared the entire psychology to breaking in. Fucking horses, yo. That nigga is a fucking, yo, that nigga is the earth has never seen a fucking demon. That is the most sophisticated demon humanity this earth has ever fucking seen. Oh yeah, Lauren's like, yes. Now Lauren's like, yes. We all suffer the consequences. We all do. Abso-fucking-lutely. The American dream was freedom. That's why I found it. The Willie Lynch psychology was so deep. It had everyone around the world internationally calling America the land of the fucking free. Meanwhile, we have the highest imprisoned rate of human beings in the fucking planet. Where they do that at? I told you guys are going to want to migrate from there. People aren't going to want to live in these societies anymore. Citizenship is going to be something people really care about because the Willie Lynch psychology got humanity across all over the world. Instead of having to go and steal you guys and rob you to build the matrix, they convinced you, tricked you. Because they're like, we can't keep going on internationally putting these people in the bottom of fucking boats, right? How do we convince them to come here and enslave themselves? Yeah, what was that movie? Just because you don't see the chains don't mean they're not there. That's a motherfucking fact. Because I don't give a fuck about race. I'll find the slave out of the fucking whitest person, the Indian, Chinese. Yeah, of course not everybody's human. Willie Lynch wasn't fucking human. But it didn't mean he didn't impact us. Okay? We're divine beings. We had to reject that. We didn't want to. We weren't awakened enough to. But now we can make a conscious decision, right? To want to be free, want to go back out in the wild again. Institutionalized. Absolutely. The whole idea of institutionalism is about needing the massa because you're so codependent. Because the Willie Lynch psychology pretty much bred the codependency that said you need to strip them of trust of each other. So get them to not trust and fear each other, whether light and dark, young or old, whatever the case is, and only trust you. Because at the time, the reason why Willie Lynch did this in 1712 was because people were afraid of their slaves. It was something you actually had to think about because you were responsible. You could be taken to fucking court over your fucking, your slave. So people were afraid. Willie Lynch was like, no, don't be afraid, because if you break them in like your horses, you will never have to, and they'll never leave. You never have to chain them up. These were like, I invested in these slaves and they ran away. They're not listening. They're fucking uprising in the homes. So the reason why this psychology is so pivotal right now is because this is exactly that moment in time where Willie Lynch created this psychology, because we were uprising in the homes already from the Anglo-Saxon slave psychology that was already in effect. Willie Lynch had to revitalize it because it was breaking down. We were already uprising. We're like, slaves are like, fuck this. They're like, no, you get me a coffee. white people were like, no, this is freaking out, man. Like, my slaves telling me to go get a fucking coffee, telling me to fucking, they were freaking out. Willie Lynch is like, okay, don't worry. I'll show you how to break them in. And literally that's what happened. 1712, if you really think about it, 1712 is going to make this exactly 310 years. 3 plus 10 is a 4-year. We're in 2020. It was destined and fated that this shit break the fuck down. It's over. Okay? You guys have to identify the oppressor in you. The judgmental oppressor that gets you to oppress people because it makes you feel good in the way that the Matrix and Willie Lynch taught you how to. And find and identify to the oppressed part of you. Because you're breaking a fucking psychology. It's a done deal. Yes, Layla, you already know 555. It's the collective change. Because the next is 666, where this change that's occurring is going to change our DNA. I.e., what was broken into us that the Willie Lynch psychology told to break into the woman so she breaks into the kid it affected our DNA. It affected our DNA. It negatively impacted the way we reproduce. So essentially, after this pivotal change, the 666 that we're all going to be seeing collectively is about the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons. We all have 6 protons, electrons, and neutrons that make up our cells. And that was what was spiritually attacked, that got to change us from a fundamental level, damaged us from a fundamental level so that we could be controlled and conquered from every point of our lives. Every point. So they didn't need chains. They didn't need that shit. Because I told you our ancestors, gang, already did a lot to conquer our bodies back, to reclaim our bodies. You understand? Doesn't mean we're not still doing that. Like I said, America has. But you see how this virus, everything, they're having to let people out like, yo. The DNA of God. That is the African gene. And guys, you need to stop looking at African as black, okay? Because I'll tell you right now, I know I'm in the Caribbean culture, there's racism between Caribbean people and African people. Enough black people look down on African people. Meanwhile, Willie Lynch taught them to do that. You understand? And essentially what you're hating on, because first of all, hating black people is the biggest depiction of self-hate in humanity. That was really where we hit rock bottom of hating ourselves, is when we started hating black people. Because like I said, our DNA is all African and linked to Africa, which is why Africa always has, regardless of what they take, she reproduces what we need to thrive and survive, which is why I was downloading from her saying, I forgive you, I love you, come home. I'll make you guys all better. I'll heal you, I'll rejuvenate you. And guys, a lot of you guys feel within you to go to Africa, but you're not African. That's what you're told because you're Indian or you're Chinese or you're white, okay? Africa is home. Home is where the heart is. That's why everything a human being needs to survive and thrive can be developed, grown naturally, and collected from Africa. And after everything we took, after everything was done to her, she's so powerful and strong that she just wants us all to forgive ourselves enough to come home and heal. They taught us to hate ourselves, but they taught us to hate nature, our natural environment, because our natural environment is what heals us. That's why I was telling you in the downloads of a light worker about burying us, not burying us in coffins. Why? Because they know that if you bury yourself plainly in a sheet and in the soil, that Mother Nature, as she consumes you through the decomposition process, actually heals you. So we actually the coffins actually perpetuate the pain throughout the bloodlines. It's almost like it holds it in the coffin. It's like holding it. It doesn't allow Mother Nature to transmute it. The Annunaki are here. The Annunaki have been dead. Jamaicans been teaching me about the Annunaki from time before I even knew how to say it or spell it. I'm like, the Annu went to South Africa in 2015 and felt they were more comfortable walking in the streets, home and neighbor. Of course, first of all, Africa has a thriving, you have to understand, media was meant to sway. The television was created to sway popular opinion and vote in politics with the war and shit like that. It was always meant to program you and sway your opinion. A lot of media will get you to be afraid of the places that they don't want you to migrate to. Why? Because the media has been trying to program us and has been controlling our citizenship. Guys, your citizenship is a karmic cycle. You can have karmic cycles with land. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. All of a sudden, people are gonna wake up and they're gonna feel very differently about their they're gonna care what fucking citizenship they have. Who they're gonna care. There's gonna be national pride again. Remember, it was taken from us by this psychology. People don't fucking have the pride they're supposed to. Yo, a lot of you guys are gonna have to stand up to like your families, elders, fucking, because they represent the Willie Lynch psychology, but they call it your culture or your religion, and you're gonna have to step to them. And you're gonna have to be able to identify the forgotten slave owner in people. And I'm telling you guys, they're in a whole bunch of different colors, shades, and sizes, yeah? But they're forgotten slave owners. These are the people that put Christ up on the motherfucking cross, eh? Same people that reincarnated. They came, the same people who plotted on Christ are the same people who plotted and created the slave trade in the Caribbean and the US. And that psychology is now internationally spread like a disease. Marcus told us to go back a long time ago. Children are the universe. Yeah, children are the universe. Yo, the inner child work I've been doing and people have been doing, man, it's part of this awakening. It's part of because children are the most freest. You know what I mean? Like, you can try to control a kid. You can even so much as put them in the corner and they'll find a way to create something out of the fucking carpet in the hole. Like, it's the inner child that refuses, that needs to be free, which is why we usually abandon the inner child, because the matrix says you can't be free. So, you know, yo, guys, I encourage you guys to look at the Willie Lynch, okay, letter and study the psychology, because the creepiest thing to me was that Willie Lynch was programming. That's what I'm saying. Willie Lynch didn't create that psychology for Black people. He created it for African people, which is all of us. Because essentially that letter was programming the people who were reading it too. It's fucked up. Anyways, what are you guys saying? I love you guys. Divide and conquer. That was what the Willie Lynch psychology was for, right? To divide and conquer, because if the old didn't hate the young, then we would be more enlightened and we'd have the support of our elders to feel like regardless of what we go through in life, we have our elders support people, human beings, and our ancestors actually alive here, supporting us in our journey, not dying and then becoming awakened over there, helping us on the other side of the veil, right? If the light weren't against the dark, right? And we loved each other and saw each other as just different shades of the same thing, we would all then come together and be less easier to control, i.e. that revolution that was happening when Willie Lynch came in and said, I gotta save everybody, would have happened like it's happening right now. It would have been like, fuck that. No, everyone would have got in the fucking house, from the light to the dark to the small. Fucking grandpa would have had a pitchfork. Like, the whole fucking shit would have been, and the plantations would have been up in flames 350 years ago. Speak about the Vatican's role, please. You were mentioning before, and I was intrigued. Okay, so the Vatican is directly the pit of hell. All right, guys, ironically enough, I was doing research about how to like import on a mass scale frankincense and stuff like that. And honestly, I found out that the Roman Catholic Church is the biggest importer of frankincense from Africa. And they had it stockpiled in the Vatican. Ironically enough, Italy was where they got hit with the coronavirus the biggest and lost the most people. And essentially, frankincense is the cure, because that's what the kings brought to Jesus for the plague. Yeah, next question. Yeah. Yeah, you guys heard it all before, because you downloaded the same information, because you've been impacted by the same psychology, reincarnating, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on too. Like, this isn't like, you know, occult knowledge. This is just like, guys, what's going on and how are you feeling about the fucking social emotion, like the oppression, and like, we're done being slaves and shit. Like, confirmation with the bike there. Damn, that wasn't a bike, that was a cop car, I think. Pretty sure. Protectors of humanity. You beaming Gemini energy. Bomb, 8th house gem. You guys know me too well. You guys know I'm a Gemini. When I'm whatever the sign is. I'm whatever the sign is. You're going to be seeing a different side of humanity, which I believe is a free side. I believe it is a side that, yo, guys, you guys need to understand, though, this is not about race, or else you're going to get fucked up. You're going to get fucked up. You're going to get caught slipping. You need to identify the forgotten slave owner in people, because that is what it is. You need to identify the psychology, not of the people Willie Lynch was training, which was the slave owner. It was the people Willie Lynch was trying to control, which was everybody in the Bumba Clot building. Like, he was like he was Jesus, but in the demonic side, right? It was like brothers, but one was evil and one was divine, and they both were showing humanity how much impact you can have being either one. The Antichrist. Willie Lynch was the Antichrist. Willie Lynch and his bloodline, which is getting collected on at this time. I'm telling you, a lot of the buildings, forget even just the buildings, businesses, you guys might not be aware, but somehow their abundance was linked to the slave trade, i.e. the Saxons, i.e. the killers of Christ. So they are being collected on. But I told you guys that the splitting of the worlds was occurring and that these bloodlines were being collected on. I'll be very honest with you. Your local projects, government housing projects, are going to look very different in 10 to 15 years. Why? Because they're going to be flooded with people that would have never even walked on that side of the fucking city. Okay? That are going to be living. I told you guys, there are bloodlines that had stolen abundance. I'm talking about the people who were compensated for the freeing of their slaves. They took that money that was supposed to be given to the slave, no different than with the Holocaust, right? They had manifests, they had names, people got checks, and those checks gave them a certain kind of freedom financially. Okay? Black people didn't get that opportunity because of the way that went down, right? So Willie Lynch knew that and said, okay, let's, like I said, Willie Lynch has been reincarnating his bloodline. So they have been revamping and revitalizing this, right? So when the abolishment of slavery occurred, that money that was supposed to go to Black people, right? Which would have made us build a whole new infrastructure, right? They took that to build the infrastructure which oppressed us, which is getting collected on schools, institutions. Okay, there are bloodlines, this old money, these people with old money, they're gonna be flooding your local projects, guys, because the old money's run out. Okay, it's done. Basta, as the Italians would say, basta. Karma. You guys think they could have hung up Christ like that and there not be karma for that shit? Like, what the fuck you guys think this is? Like, we all saw what the hell he did to Christ. Like, it's happening. And not only is the karma for every bloodline that has perpetuated, right, this, yeah, it's the money, it's everything. What was I gonna say? Shit, I forgot now. Yeah, it's a lot, guys. It's a lot. Hey, India. Mathematics and cosmic, yes, queen. What's going on, guys? Hunger Games actually isn't that far-fetched if you really look at it. Like, I mean, it was done really, you know, it was very theatrical, but I mean, the concept of it isn't really far off. We've been living fucking Hunger Games. Look at my bony ass. I've been living fucking Hunger Games. I'm starving. No, just joking. Black Wall Street, guys. When you guys say black and white, there is no, guys, it's African. Everyone needs to identify to the African gene again. Like I said, science has been able to link every human being, Chinese, Indian, white, European, mitochondrial DNA to Africa. This is human, okay? We need to identify to the human being in us again. Okay, that's African. So enough with the whole black white thing. Mind you, you're talking to a biracial person, so like I can't Like, I am what the fuck I am. I'm not like those biracial people that feel like they have to identify to one side of them or the other. You know what I mean? I am very, I've been to Italy. I saw the Vatican, the pit of hell. Like, I received that. I'm like, okay, I understand. Like, I'll opt out of the tour, but, and, I've been to Jamaica. Like, I love my Jamaican side. Actually, this week I cooked, curry chicken and fucking a lasagna. You see what I mean? Like, I love me, but at the same time, I can identify the slave psychology that lives out in both sides. Both sides. Both sides. Yo, I see Chinese people living out this shit. I see Indian people. Oh my God. I love when Indian people are racist. Again, black people. It's like if you looked in the mirror. Just but yeah, my two favorite meals. Yeah. I'm biracial too. I wish I could have carried on this with you guys. Yeah, I think it's gone. I think I'm gone. I don't know. I think my data is done. I used up all the data. I'm not on Wi-Fi. But I love you guys. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay. Yeah, it's buffering because I'm out. I have no more data. I have no more data on my phone. Okay? Anyways, I love you guys. Okay? Mwah, mwah. I love you. All right? Mwah. And be free. Angel gang, gang. Fuck Willie Lynch. It's the coming of Christ, the resurrection of Christ through all of our consciousness. Yes. Love you guys. Okay? Bye.